Hi, everyone. I love this salon setup. This is intimate and fabulous. Hi, I'm Marissa Nance. I'm the founder and CEO of Native Tongue Communications. We are the first and only minority female-owned media agency to exist. And we out in these streets, y'all. We are out in these streets. But today we're in the Can streets, and I'm sitting up here with some very powerful people. So rather than me try to do these introductions, since y'all are so fabulous and powerhouses yourself, can each of you, let's start over there, take just a few minutes to introduce yourself, tell us a little background, and I would love to jump this off with one thing in life that gives you purpose, get you up in the morning.
I actually sat on the end, so I wouldn't have to go first, but...
Wrong end, baby.
Just kidding. Hello, everyone. I'm Gabrielle Shirdan. I am the founder and CCO of Kitchen Table. Kitchen Table is a full-service creative ad agency built for founders or brands that are founded or owned by people of color. So I spent my career, decades in the game from Philly and Lev Lane to 72 and Sunny to Spike DDB to I was the most senior Black creative at McCann at one point. And Dabo actually says it best. He said, we took our expertise from Madison Avenue and brought it down to MLK Boulevard. I believe that, the difference between a good brand and great brand is just excellent marketing and then someone believes in them. So we can create a lot of, Black and brown billionaires by building up those brands. And so that's the work that I poured myself into. And the thing that keeps me up is also the thing that helps me sleep at night. And that's the work that we get to do, which is elevating the narratives of Black and brown brilliance and showing people that there are options and other spaces and other tables to create. There's multiple tables, and we need people. We need more than one table, and we need folks like us on all sides of that. So that is the work that keeps me up, building brands like Issa Rae's brand, like Tristan Walker's brand, to just continue to show the world the caliber of creative we can put in the world.
I love it.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dabo Che.
Dabo Che.
Thank you. I am the founder and CCO of Che Creative Industries, also known as Che Creative. I'm also the executive creative director of the Kitchen Table. Gabrielle and I work together and have been for many, many years. We are creative partners and build businesses together and spaces together. And so I was formerly the executive creative director at Spike Lee's ad agency, Spike DDB. And since then, I've always kind of had an entrepreneurial spirit. Before this, I was filmmaker and screenwriter, did a lot of just creative endeavors, kind of followed my heart, my passion in a lot of different directions. And that kind of ties me into your other question about what gets you up in the morning and what gives you purpose. And, you and I were just talking about how we're both Geminis.
All four of us.
Gemini season, by the way, in case anybody was not paying attention. But for me, that multiplicity, that, the duality of that, for me, it's always remaining curious and always having a part of me that wants to learn and is interested in new things. And it's a very kind of childlike energy, right? That I always try to hold on to dearly because it inspires me to never get too locked into old ways of doing things, to always remain curious, to always put myself in unfamiliar spaces and to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And so it's just that kind of childlike curiosity that I love what I do, and I want to know more about what you do and connect with people who have similar energy. So that's what gets me up.
I love it.
Stacy Spikes. I am the founder of Urban World Film Festival, which is the largest Black and Brown festival in the world. It's going to be 28 years this year. I was only 5 years old when I started it. And then from that, we spun off MoviePass. And so MoviePass grew to be the largest theatrical subscription company in the world. My co-founder and Hame and I sold it. They bankrupted it. I bought it back last year. We relaunched it. It's back on its feet. We need to talk. And the Gordon Parks said the most powerful thing is images. And I think it was Oprah who said, what we see, we can then believe we can become. And so I believe helping Black and brown stories be seen is my singleness of purpose. And my job is to reduce the friction between those things being able to be placed in the right way, especially in a cinematic medium. Cinema has all of these touch points that we remember it more because we were in a place with other people experiencing something like you listening to an album in your room versus you went to the concert, or very different experiences. And so that is what I do for a living. And HBO just dropped a doc. If you guys haven't seen it, Movie Pass, Movie Crash, it went up to number 2 on the most played list 2 weeks ago. And so it's pretty wild that we have a doc. Yesterday, for the first time, this is weird. I've always been behind the scenes. And yesterday at Inkwell, I had 10 people come up to me going, I saw your doc. I was like, very uncomfortable feeling when people recognize you. I'm all about the anonymity.
Okay, talent.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
Somebody cut off the talent. Somebody cut off the talent. I was going to go right into my marketing spiel and be like, well, did you mention the doc? So I'm glad you did that. I'm Talitha Watkins. I'm the president and co-founder of ColorCreative Management and Production Company. Very differently than the agencies that are here, but we work very closely with the agencies that are here. We represent talent on the film and television side. I think I had an aha moment when you all were speaking, because I realized how thoughtfully this was curated. And I just want to say thank you for having me, because I realized how much we can all do together, advance each other's missions, how much we align. When I saw Marissa walking down the Quasset, the thing I told her was, I'm going to make some time this week to dream. And I would say that's what gives me purpose, is getting up, because I know that I may be dreaming while I'm sleeping, but I can be dreaming while I'm awake as well. And I enjoy that process very much, and making time for it during this season. Obviously, this is the hashtag panel. If y'all not capturing some of this goodness, shame on ya. Shame on ya. Thank you for that, all of you. So look, if we control conversations, dollars, if we control narratives, mindsets, hiring, opportunities, outreach, and vision, then we have to assume we're going to control some portion of the results, the output, the revenue, the accolades, the story. Right? Well, how are we doing? What's the reality? According to, and I'm going to read this, the 2023 Diversity in Agency Survey Report, 73% of agency CEOs, owners, and C-suite employees identified as non-cis white in 2021. In 2022, that number went up. Say it one more time. That number went up, and it didn't just go up a point from 73 to 75, 74. It went from 73 to 90% now. It's 90%. Black representation among agency leadership fell from 5 to 0.75. We're not even a person anymore. We are literally no longer a person. We fought hard to be a person, and now we're not. 0.75. I mean, what does that even mean? And leaders who identified as Asian and or Hispanic went down to approximately 6-7% combined. So this is a problem, and this is what I'd love for us to talk about in this content ownership conversation. We're going to weave a little thread of education, setting it up. How do you become that person? What are some tools to get you there? How do you navigate once you are there? And then a little bit of a surprise ending. So I'm trying to be cute, and I got some quotes to start us off. So dusk to dawn, I'm always thinking about creating. And that's the great Miles Davis who said that. And Dabo. It feels like you came from the womb writing copy and sharing ideas. Really, it does. Can you give some insight into that feeling of just, you wake up and realize I'm a leader. I want to own my own destiny. Like, how does it translate into your daily reality? This feeling of knowing this is what I want to do, this is what I'm born to do.
As a creative person, as someone who leans into the arts, I talked a little bit earlier about that curiosity that gets me up in the morning. On the other side of that curiosity, there is the idea and execution phase that happens. And there's a feeling that happens at the end of that execution phase. There is a sense of exhilaration. There is a feeling of regret. There's a feeling like the dissatisfaction. That didn't really turn out the way I wanted it to turn out. And then you get into this rinse and repeat cycle of like, let me do that again. It becomes your drug of choice. It becomes, like you're chasing the dragon on some level. So curiosity tends to, I have that relationship with creativity and artistry. And I think early on, that's kind of how it started. Regarding leadership, though, one of my favorite quotes is, the role of the artist is to make the revolution irresistible. And that always resonated with me because it looked at creative and artistry different. It wasn't just that artist being out in the world creating for creative sake. That's important too. But especially in our communities, with underrepresented communities, and I think that's kind of what we're here talking about, it puts mission to the madness, right? We have to now, we're purposeful, we're purpose driven. And so that quote for me, the next logical step was, if the role of the artist is to make the revolution irresistible, well, what's my revolution? And I think we all have to ask ourselves that question. What are we here for? What are we fighting for? What is the revolution that we are trying to start? What is the revolution that we are joining in arms with? And, being able to identify that makes you then kind of transition into a leadership, because all a leader is supposed to do or should be doing is someone who wants to change something. It's not about being revered as a leader and, having followers and stuff. You're here to change, hopefully for the better. And so if you are a leader trying to create revolution and change in the world, that is a very powerful recipe when you mix in creativity, because then it starts to become less about like trying to force people to do things rather than inspire them to do things. And if you can inspire people to think about things differently or to move differently, or, advertising is all about getting people to change their behavior. So how do you get people to change their behavior in a positive way that becomes infectious, that then provides other people opportunity to change their behavior? And that's all this is, right? The revolution that we are trying to change here regarding these stats is a change. It's just a change of behavior. How do we show up differently? How do we act differently? How do we unify and move together and create change in this world? So that's kind of where my purpose meets the road.
I love that. I love that. Now, that said, fine words do not produce food. That's a Nigerian proverb. And what it means is we've heard from Dabo what really drives this creativity, how the spark that lights that fire, but words without action mean nothing. So we're going to turn over here. Because Stacy, you have literally chosen to do this again and again and again. While each experience was unique, can you share some of your kind of tips in the process, very pragmatically? What are some action points, actual items? We know the spark. We know what's going to light that fire. Now I just want to transition over to you. Give us some idea of, once I'm there, what are some things you always do when you set out to launch one of these companies?
So I think the thing about that proverb and what we're all talking about in that stat you brought up at the beginning, when we don't own and there's cutbacks, we're the first to go. And so, we're the ones with our little white office boxes exiting the building first. The only thing that matters is ownership. If you can't own and you're not the check writer and you're not the decision maker, all of us are a contract or months or weeks away from not knowing what's going to happen in our life and our family's life. And you can't create multi-generational wealth. So I think first is not let me have a revolving seat at the table. I want to own my chair that I sit at that table.
Okay.
And that mindset. So Gerald Busby, when I was at Motown, I'll never forget this. This man changed. Somebody will say something that they completely change your life. We were at a Motown party. I was Boyz II Men's product manager. And for no reason, he says, never stay anywhere more than 4 years unless you own stock in the company. And then he walked off.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget every job I had. Year 1, year 2, year 3, I started to get itchy, and this thought would come into my head. Damn, I'm busting my ass and I don't own anything. Wow. And when I was the highest ranking Black executive at Miramax, and Miramax was God at the time. And I'm like head of distribution, help putting things out. I'm like, I don't own anything. They can fire me next week. And so what do? That thought, that prevailing thought, like if there's going to be cultural change, because I can tell you AI is about to replace a whole lot of jobs. And you know who's the first one who's going to be out? Us. And we don't own stuff. And the panel that TJ was on earlier, but see, we own culture. And so when Blackness walks in the room, everybody wants to be part of that, right? Whether it's music or sports or just the swagger that we bring to the party. And how do we make sure we own that, and that's the thing? When you talk about Black Twitter, take Twitter away without us.
It's not formerly known as.
Yeah. It's not Twitter anymore, right? And so that's a thing that if you want to be any successful company on planet Earth, you're going to need Black and brown people, and yet we don't own it. And to me, it's just you need that mindset, and that will drive all the decisions.
Can I just and I know we're running through, we've got a time constraint, but I do want to ask a question. We talk about ownership, and this was a pragmatic kind of logistics thing. In ownership, who's the first person that you think of when is it your attorney? Is it your accountant? I'm really kind of digging deep. I want to be that pragmatic as we think about building our own businesses. Do they come at the same time? When you think that way, who do you go to first? What's your first stop?
Me.
All right.
I mean, you can just literally go online and create a company, right, in a few minutes. And then it's, why are you doing this? And then what are you doing? There's some people around you that you're about to affect their life. Either you got fired or you saved up a little money and you're about to take a risk, right? So there's some people in your life that you need to have a conversation with, because 75% of the times you're going to crash and burn. Oh. And that's okay. And build that into it so that when it happens, great, you got a way to get up. And if it doesn't happen, great, but build that in. I see so many people, they don't build that into the thought process. I will see founders come to me and this is my plan. It's perfect. I'm so smart and I know this space.
About that.
And it's going to, in 12 months, I'm going to be the king of the hill. And you just are like, it's going to take twice as long, cost twice as much. You will have problems. It will not work out. Like Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan until you get hit in the face. And there are people who will take your business from you. The minute you put up do you know that Apple watches every app and sees what gets traction and then they copy it? And they're coming for your lunch. So anyway, I could ramble.
No, we love it. There'll be a part 2. Trust me. When we're part 2, there will be. But it's interesting because you brought up people. You brought up the people and the people around you and how, this is not just you. And our next quote is, in fact, it's like, you've seen this. I want to make sure that the future we create includes the full range of our talent and our skills. And that was the great Mae Jemison. And I think a lot of that, when you're an owner, you remember there's no I in team. You can't do it alone. And when I think of Talitha, I tell people all the time, I don't like people. It's true. I'm not a people person.
I said Gemini.
I don't like people. And everybody says, I'm not a people person. I don't like people. And so I have an amazing amount of respect for someone who can navigate people as well as this woman can. I'm serious. She's done it as a marketer. She's done it as an agent. And now she's doing it as an owner. This is a skill set you have. You really do have. And I've admired it for a long, long time. And so I would love, as we talk about this journey of equity ownership, the spark that lights the flame, really, what do you do when you get there? What are those actions? Well, now you're here. You can't do it alone. There is no I in team. Will you just share some of your secret sauce and team building and what that means to you as you create equity for yourself?
Thank you. What a setup. I must know your twin then, because I think you're a good people person. You're good at people. I would say that when you spend your career always being closed out, but you are there to do something, you find a way to build consensus and you find a way to make an impact. And I think that probably, especially when I got to Universal Pictures, and my role was created through the memorandums of understanding that Congress set forth for Comcast to be able to purchase NBC Universal. Mm-hmm. And, if anyone is watching what's happening in this DEI conversation, that was the early days of mandating certain people in certain roles. And we're talking about a traditionally closed business in the film space. And I came from TV marketing. So there were a lot of things against me, at least in their minds. But I just had to learn very quickly in that environment because I'm a movie lover. I'm the person who watched The Best Man and saw Nia Long's character and thought I could be her, to your point about the Oprah quote. So I knew this was my dream job and I wasn't going to let them run me out. And after being there 7 years, that opportunity exposed to me what I was really brought here for, which is to help other people to tell their stories. Because as everyone here said, and Dabo, you mentioned it, and I took note of what you said, you have to inspire people as a leader. And part of that is pushing through some of the hardest moments and, employing grace and, having inner peace throughout all of it. So I guess I've gotten to a place with inspiring my team. And then our team is about 12. We represent 150 creators. And they are often looking at us for
advice, support, comfort, to be their cheerleader. We are, my business partner is Issa Rae. She is kind of our rubric when we think of the type of talent we want to represent. So very similarly to you, Gabrielle, like I want to be supporting founders, which means you got to build a foundation for them.
Yeah.
You know, you got to go really deep. You got to get them to the place where they know they come to themselves first, right? So it's like, got to check in with yourself. Why do you want to do it? Will you invest in you? Okay, if you're investing in you, then I can match that. So it does require a lot of digging deep and spending time. I tap into my inner Gemini and stay home sometimes so I can like build up what I need to show up in places like this. And it's not easy. It's not easy, but I think the relationship game starts with those quiet moments, those intimate sessions, salon conversations, and being able to say, how are you doing? I witnessed it as we were going into this panel when Stacy checked on Marissa. And I noticed that, and I want to give you your acknowledgement for that, because those are the things that I think get you to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing, so you can inspire your team. I love that. I love that. I love it. I love it. All right. So a little bit of a narrative. We've gone on a journey. We've talked about what's the spark. We've talked about what do you do when you get there, and then how do you handle those people, because you can't do it alone. But, you know, sometimes we do hit walls. And so the final quote here is, if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. And that is the one-of-a-kind Shirley Chisholm. And I thought a perfect quote for the woman that launched Kitchen Table. And Gabrielle, I don't even want to spoil anything. I want to give just a couple of notes here. We're here at Cannes. We're here at the Cannes Lions. This is rooted in advertising. We all know there's a ton of holding companies. Most people here are not holding company related, but just as a couple of notes as we lead into this, Omnicom was founded in 1986. WPP, 1985. Publicis, 1926. That's how long those people have controlled the table. So, Gabrielle, I get goosebumps when I ask, can you please be the badass that you are and give us a little glimpse of what change might look like for all of us?
Cool. You really do set these up in a way that I'm crying before I can dive into it. I mean, listen, I watched my mother build her business from our dining room table, which is a privilege to see a Black woman, single Black mother, build her business. I come home from work and papers all over the dining room table. It's a big inspiration for Kitchen Table. So I grew up believing anything was possible. And then I would work, you know, Stacy, we work so hard at these places, and I would call my mom crying at like 4 a.m. trying to get this campaign out in the world. And she'd be like, you stop acting like, you know, you're not on the door. So go get your name on the door. And so put the name on the door, cool. But now it's like there's the door and then there's the building. And I've looked a lot lately in conversations, the DEI conversations, and there is this beautiful kind of difference, I think, in representing the culture and relinquishing the culture. And I think people get to a certain point and they're like, oh, I'm representing the culture. We've casted this diverse talent. But if there's no ownership, then it's just representing the culture. It's relinquishing it. And so, you know, we do own culture, so we should own all of the things around it. And so what I'm super excited to be at Cannes for is Dabo and I are actually announcing the first Black and woman-owned holding company in the advertising and marketing space. Okay, cool. So the name of the company is Heirloom, and it is truly trying to dimensionalize, democratize, and diversify the advertising industry. So that way we're not just, you know, representing the culture, but we are absolutely kind of continuing to elevate the narratives of equity and ownership, because that's what it does come down to. And, you know, you can create the thing, or you can kind of continue to create the space so others can create the thing, because it's not just my table. It's not just our table, but there are so many people who, given the right opportunity or access or marketing or whatever it might be, can build that table that will ultimately change the world. And so, you know, Dabo, you mentioned the quote the role of the artist is to make the revolution irresistible. And I love that because, 2020 hit and I was like, damn, I suck at protesting. I can't make a good sign. My feet get tired. I can't lobby. I'm a creative. I can't get into law. And so I'm like, well, what can I do? And it might take a while, but if I can build up the next Black and brown billionaires, then they will in turn hire and build and give back. I mean, even our clients, whether it's Issa Rae or Tristan Walker or Hawk and Troy from Status Pro, they've already given back and built up so much. And so even though it might just be a little creative or a little strategy or a branding work that we're doing, we're building with Heirloom the most powerful ecosystem of culturally led creative agencies. So there's Kitchen Table at Heirloom. There's Che Creative at Heirloom, doing work for the bigger brands. And bringing kind of culturally provocative work to the world. We have Love Song, which is one of the only Black-owned music companies in the commercial space. There's Culture Port, which is also our in-house strategy house. I always say, like, if Nielsen was created for the culture and by the culture. And then through kind of IP and creation and acquisition, we will continue to build this ecosystem. So when the next panel, a couple years from now, and they're saying
native tongue. Native tongue.
In the next panel, a couple years from now, when they're like, WPP was created here, IPG, now it won't be the big six, it'll be the big seven perhaps, or the big eight or big nine. Like, it's not even just us, it's about creating spaces for more and more. So I don't know, Dabo, if you want to jump in here, it's the work that keeps us up and helps us sleep.
I think too, I'd like to talk about the inspiration of why we even chose to do that. The holding company it's not a small undertaking, and nor should it be thought of as just like it's not a vanity project either. When we talk about our community and we talk about the stakes that we hold, and the culture that we own and the IP that we should gatekeep, it's important to understand too that we have to be educated about the game. I said coming to Cannes this year was different for me because I was looking at it as a playground, but I was looking at it as a chessboard. There are rules to this shit. And the real situation is that this is business, and this is money, and this is livelihood. I started my agency. I named it after myself, which is a name that my son also holds, and the middle name that my father gave me. And as I've learned about business, it's like, well, okay, what do I do now? I got a business, I got clients, I'm earning money. I was like, but how long do I got to do this? This is, I don't know, this is not a sustainable action. So like, what do we look to do? Like, well, what do most agencies do? Most agencies scale their business, and then they get a multiple, and then they sell it to a holding company. I was like, oh, okay, cool. What are holding companies? No, I don't like none of them. Because, and it's not that I don't like them personally. There's a lot of great people that work at these spaces, but I have real intention and purpose at the center of my agency. We create advertising. We sell bubble gum. We can sell water to a whale. But we do have purpose at the center of it. Gabrielle has purpose at the center of Kitchen Table, and it is the face of the agency. But at some point, we're going to have to relinquish control of these agencies, and then what happens, right? Do we sell it at a multiple to a holding company that already exists that doesn't share that same purpose at the center of it? What happens to that purpose? It goes away. It's the first thing to go, right? So if there isn't someone to buy you out that doesn't share your same values and share your same purpose and your same mission, you then have to create the entity that then becomes the buyer. You have to be the purpose. You have to fill the space where there was none before and have the purpose of creating opportunity and making space for folks that look like you, that come from the same space that you come from, and have the same intention that you do. We haven't come this far to come this far. And it's really important for us to, we've had some great teachers in our community. We have the Malcolm X, we have the Shirley Chisholm, we have all these folks. And I feel like we have to start moving with intention and purpose and community at the center of us. So many of us are working kind of independently and heavy, but when we have a operations company, when we have a holding company, that it's not just gang. It's about creating safety nets within business to make sure that these businesses can thrive when they have a bad year. That the mission doesn't get lost because there's new kids on the block with new competition. These holding companies are created in order to bolster business for decades and decades into the future, whether they have a failing year or 2 or 3 or 4, that there's a foundation built, there's a support group that's there, and that there is community built around that business in order to ensure its success. And that is our mission now. That is what we're doing. Thursday is the launch day is the day. It's going up on Juneteenth. I think that's by no coincidence. We're just very happy, and thank you all for the platform for this to be the first time we're mentioning it publicly.
I asked permission now. Don't cut the eye over here like, did Marissa ask permission or did she just throw us out there? No, I asked permission. I got permission. Well, what I will say is I'm going to end. I have one more quote, and the quote is, creativity is the mind's way of saying thank you to its soul. Creativity is the mind's way of saying thank you to its soul. Now that's Marissa Nance. And I say thank you to each and every one of you. This has been a pleasure and an honor. I know and love all of you. And so this has just been fantastic. So thank you.
Can I just say one parting thing? That is a wonderful and amazing announcement. And I just wanted to add one to this. So it should be in the trades tomorrow. But Comcast is making a massive investment into MoviePass.
Hey, no.
Gang.
And so that's getting announced here. So it hasn't been said to anybody. I've been on my phone because we're dropping the press release.
And so we're all going to be in the press release because we were here with you, right?
So, yeah. So there you go. Just add.
I love that. Well, and there was a little bit, I know we're running tight on time, but I got to ask you then, because I did want to ask everybody, what do you got to crow about? Give me one quick thing to crow, because I know you got good stuff.
Really excited about a documentary we're producing for Hulu and Anscape. It is slated to come out later this year, chronicling the life of the rapper Shine Barrow. Really prescient story right now, and we've traveled to Israel, Belize, New York, Miami, and chronicling his life and his career as a politician now in Belize, and it's just been a fantastic ride. So very excited about that.
I love that. Thank you again, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you all.